I'm Denton Davidson for Gold Derby, here with Stacy Perskie, producer for Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths from Oscar-winning director Alejandro Inarritu. This is Mexico's entry for Best International Feature at the 95th Academy Awards. And can you talk about what you hope to highlight about Mexican cinema with this film and what it means to represent Mexico this year?
It's an honor to represent Mexico. It's a particular year with very powerful films, and we're very grateful to the Mexican Academy and the members that voted to choose Bardo. And the film, I think what it highlights the most is kind of like that it's a love letter to Mexico and to Mexican identity. There's a line in the film that says that Mexico is a state of mind. And it does. I growing up in Mexico, I was born and raised in Mexico, and it really does feel that way. I really identify with that line, and it's there's so much about this film that talks about being Mexican, and I think it's a way of understanding what being Mexican is. It's like there's a lot of historical aspects weaved into the film, and a lot of themes that are quite current also politically, but it's also about family, and I think you can identify, a lot of people can identify with that. The main character going back to Mexico after being away for so many years, living in the US, he comes back to kind of find himself with his country and with his culture, and sort of what it was for him when he left, and sort of what is no longer for him anymore. So it's again, I think it's Alejandro, when I read the script for the first time, I felt that that it was a real way of encapsulating Mexican identity. So I think that's very, very strong in the film, and we're very happy that can be seen everywhere in the world.
And it's not a traditional movie. I mean, it's like a lucid dream. It's been described by some. So what were your thoughts when you read the script? Were you sort of like, surprised by it? Is this when you're like, okay, like maybe not for everyone, but I'm going to trust a 4-time Oscar winner to take this on and make and believe in him to bring this to life?
Well, it's interesting because for me, reading the script, it was such a journey. It's like I enjoyed it so much, and I was so excited by so many aspects of it, going from one scene to the next, and all the images were very lucid, very vivid, and it was and very powerful, right? It's like I identified with a lot of them. I could see all the nuances and things that I thought were very funny, but also very moving and very profound. Honestly, I didn't ever think that it was a film that wouldn't be for everybody. Quite the contrary. It's like for me, it was very interesting that for days after reading the script for the first time, I kept having images, like a lot of the images stuck in my mind, like no other script that I had ever read before, right? So I was, it was incredible. And, it's like I was very, very touched by it, very inspired by it, and very moved and excited to be able to be a part of it.
And some scenes are just on a massive scale. I mean, I think Alejandro said at one point there's something like 800 extras in one scene, and it's hot, and it's the pandemic, and people have masks, and then they forget to take their mask off, and you have to reshoot a sequence. Was there any particular scene or parts of the film that just sort of left you in awe the most, that like he was able to accomplish, that impressed you?
Well, I mean, I would say for me, there's there's more than one, I would say. There's several parts of the film. When we were shooting downtown, when we were shooting like the California Dancing Club. But I would say especially, there's this moment in the film where there's a caravan of immigrants that is coming down a hill at dawn, at sunrise, and there's like a lot of mist, and it's a huge valley, and there's like a very, very long line of cars in traffic that are basically held up by this caravan crossing a road, a highway. And for me, like seeing that come together, Alejandro has this incredible process of preparation, and and a lot of this film was very, he had a lot of it, every single frame of it in his mind, and everything was storyboarded, and a lot of it was rehearsed. So actually seeing that shot and that scene come together with all the immigrants coming down the hill, to me was unbelievable. It was a really beautiful, very strong moment, and it's one of my favorites in the film. Yeah.
And it's his first film fully filmed in Mexico since Amores Perros in 2000. So he said it's not biographical, but he said he knows who this man Silveria is. What do you think inspired him to return to make this film in Mexico for the first time in over 20 years?
Well, he's mentioned a lot himself that he wanted to make a very personal film, and it was kind of like kind of an inward journey, and I think kind of reconnecting with his own experience of living in the US for so many years, and having this relationship with Mexico, where obviously he has all his family and friends, and he goes back and forth, and his family, so I think for me, that's what seems to have basically triggered wanting to talk about this specific stage in his life and his experiences, and also talking about his country and the relationship between the US and Mexico, and being an immigrant, and living in the US, and and what that means to him.
Can you talk about Daniel Jimenez Cacho, who leads the cast, and what led to his casting, and what impressed you most about his performance?
Well, that for me, Daniel is the best actor in Mexico, and he's incredible. He's I've had the opportunity of working with him before, and he gets stronger and stronger, and he's like a chameleon. You don't really, every character he does is you see something different, and so when Alejandro decided it was Daniel, and when I learned that was the case, that it wasn't surprising to me at all. It was like quite like the perfect match. But for them, it was kind of about their connection, and there wasn't a casting process. They, more than a casting or an audition, they had like a 5-hour long conversation where they talked about where each of them were in their lives, and and there were so many, it was very serendipitous, there were so many things that connected them, and they were, they have similar age, similar like family structure. They've been married for 30 years, that they both have kids of sort of the same age, so it, there was so much. And I think there was also like quite a strong spiritual connection, and Daniel talks about describing this meditation he had done a few weeks prior to meeting Alejandro, and talking about the images that he saw during that meditation. And Alejandro was very surprised to hear that, because it was like he had already read the script in a lot of ways. So it was, I think after that initial meeting, it was like like an immediate connection that grew and grew stronger as the film process came together.
Well, yeah, he leads with a tremendous performance, and Stacy, thanks for spending time with me and talking about Bardo. And best of luck with the upcoming Oscar nominations and everything else moving forward. And enjoy the ride.
Thank you so much. Thank you.